You walked into the room and your reason disappeared without a trace. You stop in the doorway waiting for your memory to suddenly wake up. You stare around hoping one object will remind you why you came there. A few seconds later, you quietly walk away feeling strangely frustrated. It starts happening often enough that you question your own memory. You wonder if your mind is slowly becoming less reliable every day. But millions of men experience this exact moment far more than they realize. The surprising reason has very little to do with forgetting at all. Your brain may have been doing exactly what it was designed to do. Once you understand why this happens, you will never see it the same way again. The moment you cross a doorway, your brain quietly begins updating its current surroundings. It automatically checks what is new before finishing the goal you carried a second ago. Without realizing it, your attention shifts from your intention to your environment instead. Psychologists often call this the doorway effect, and almost everyone experiences it sometimes. The room changes, but something even more important changes inside your own attention. Your previous goal suddenly belongs to a different mental context than the one you entered. That tiny shift is sometimes enough for your purpose to briefly disappear from awareness. Your memory did not suddenly fail because the information was never completely lost. It simply became much harder for your brain to reach in that exact moment. The intention still exists, but another mental process temporarily moves ahead of it. That is why returning to the previous room often makes the answer suddenly appear. Your brain reconnects with the earlier context where the original intention was created. It feels almost magical, even though your mind is following predictable patterns. But this doorway effect becomes much stronger when another hidden force is involved. And that deeper reason explains why some men experience this far more often. That hidden force is often the invisible weight your mind has been carrying all day. Many men walk through life with dozens of unfinished thoughts running at the same time. Work, family, money, and responsibilities quietly compete for every moment of attention. Even during simple tasks, your brain keeps preparing for problems that have not happened yet. It constantly asks what needs fixing before asking what you came here to do. The forgotten goal simply loses a silent competition inside your working memory. Your attention naturally follows whatever feels most urgent or emotionally important. That small reason for entering the room quickly slips behind larger unfinished concerns. The more mental tabs your brain keeps open, the easier that intention disappears. It is remarkably similar to opening too many apps on a busy computer at once. Nothing is truly broken because your mental resources are simply spread too thin. Your brain is trying to protect you by constantly scanning for bigger priorities. Ironically, that helpful habit makes everyday intentions much easier to lose. But there is an even deeper reason your brain chooses to work this way. Once you understand it, the frustration begins making far more sense. Your brain was never designed to hold every goal with exactly the same level of importance. Instead, it constantly updates its priorities to help you respond to whatever feels most important. The moment you enter a different room, your brain treats it as a completely new situation. It quickly scans for useful information before returning to the goal you brought with you. Sometimes that brief interruption is enough for the original intention to become temporarily hidden. Think of it like changing browser tabs while forgetting which one you were just using. The information never disappeared because it simply moved outside your immediate awareness. That is why walking back often brings the forgotten purpose back almost instantly. Your brain reconnects with the place where the intention was first created and stored. This hidden shortcut helps your mind adapt quickly instead of clinging to every small detail. It is an efficient system, even though it sometimes creates frustrating everyday moments. The problem becomes more noticeable when your attention is already stretched too thin. That is why some men experience this several times before lunch even begins. The surprising truth is that intelligence has almost nothing to do with this habit. an understanding that changes the way you judge yourself every single day. Some men experience this far more often because their minds rarely stop working in the background. Even while completing simple tasks, they are planning, solving, predicting, and preparing for tomorrow. Their attention is quietly divided long before they ever step through the next doorway. Chronic stress teaches the brain to constantly search for what could demand action next. That endless scanning leaves fewer mental resources for small, everyday intentions to survive. Ironically, many thoughtful and responsible men experience this pattern more than anyone else. Their brains naturally prioritize future problems over ordinary moments happening right now. This does not mean they have weak memories or damaged minds hiding beneath the surface. It often means their attention has become overloaded by responsibilities they barely notice anymore. The more pressure the brain carries, the faster it abandons goals that seem less important. That is why forgetting why you entered a room often feels worse during stressful seasons. The room is not the problem because your attention arrived carrying too much already. Once that invisible burden becomes lighter, these moments often happen far less frequently. Fortunately, your brain can relearn how to protect important intentions before they disappear. And the solution begins by working with your mind instead of fighting against it. The goal is not forcing your brain to remember every tiny intention without ever forgetting again. The goal is making your attention stay connected before your surroundings quietly take over. A simple pause before entering the room can strengthen the goal already in your mind. Repeating your intention once silently gives your brain another chance to hold on to it. That tiny habit creates a stronger mental link between your action and your destination. Moving with slightly less hurry also gives attention enough time to stay fully engaged. Your brain remembers meaningful intentions better than rushed automatic movements every time. Many psychologists recommend reducing unnecessary multitasking whenever it is actually possible. Each unfinished thought quietly competes with the reason you are walking into the room. The fewer mental battles your attention fights, the easier simple goals become to remember. Working with your brain always produces better results than constantly criticizing yourself. Small changes repeated every day slowly reshape the way attention naturally behaves. What feels impossible today can eventually become almost effortless through simple repetition. But the greatest lesson has nothing to do with remembering rooms at all. It is about finally understanding what your everyday forgetfulness has been trying to tell you. The next time you forget why you walked into a room, do not call it a failing memory. Remember that attention always comes before memory because one cannot exist without the other. Your mind was never empty because it was already carrying more than you could easily see. That does not make you less intelligent because it makes you deeply human instead. Sometimes the busiest minds simply struggle to stay present long enough to keep small goals alive. Once you understand this pattern, frustration slowly gives way to patience and confidence. You begin working with your brain instead of constantly blaming yourself for forgetting. That simple shift can quietly transform countless ordinary moments throughout your life. Subscribe for more psychology videos that reveal the hidden patterns behind everyday behavior. You may understand your own mind far better than you ever thought possible.